Um, I think something I've thought a lot about recently is trying to be genuine with all my expression of affection for
Mm-hmm.
people. And it happened a lot with a couple years ago. I really liked a girl, and everyone knew it, and she really liked me. And so people would tell me things to do,
Mm-hmm.
like it's her birthday. Like, did you buy her flowers?
Right. You're not going to kiss her today? Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt really obligated, but I hated and I think about it now. It's like if I'm gonna be romantic,
Oh.
so that I felt a lot of obligation for love, like the expressions of love.
Mm-hmm.
But I found recently that if I just do what I want to do, if I actually care about someone,
Yeah.
I will want to be affectionate towards them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like hugging my close friends
Mm-hmm.
because I want to do it because I care about them.
Yeah. No, I have felt that as well. Like, not only that, but when you feel like you're trying to follow specific rules of a relationship, and you kind of force yourself to do specific things, like even to hug them, it takes the value away from it. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
it doesn't feel, first off, as genuine, but also you don't get as much joy out of it because it's like ticking a box. It's like it's not.
Yeah.
I completely agree that I think that there's like an affectionate confidence that comes from expressing affection the exact way that you want to. Because like anything, like let's say you're trying to be cool in front of your friends and you act a certain way and like, oh, Grant, you're so cool. Like, you know, all these quotes and you're always wearing these cool, stylish clothes. And then you see those friends again and you're like, oh, okay, what did I do last time that worked?
Oh, I've totally done that.
Like, okay, so they thought I was cool then and I have to be cool again. Who was I the last time we were together? Oh, I was thinking, maybe I have to be the funny guy. Okay, like, hey, everyone. And then you're funny again. And all of a sudden, over time, you start to forget how to naturally just be friends with those people because you go and you just become what you think they want.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same thing with affection, where like if you feel insecure about it and you're like, oh, what does this woman like in a relationship or even this man in a friendship? Like, oh yeah, like we hug or we back hug or we kiss or, me and him, whatever it is, the way we express our affection, if it becomes like, how do they want me to act? And then I'll have to remember it and become that person. Then over time, you'll stop feeling real affection.
Yeah.
Over time, it'll become desensitized because it won't be, like when you don't feel like expressing affection and you don't hug someone, I think it actually grows your connection because that's how you really feel. So when you do want to hug someone, it feels that much more real.
That's true.
Kind of like the imperfect way that you express yourself ends up being the only way that you can really connect with someone. Because if you're trying to manipulate your expressions, you're trying to manipulate your affection to match what you think they want. First off, you'll never be able to do that. And second off, it gets so watered down over time. You forget what you really want to do and you forget. Yeah. And then you can't express like overly affection either because that's also not appropriate. You just don't know. You're like, okay, I know this works. Yeah. This is our relationship in this box.
I always kind of get nervous when people like say things that I'm good at. And they're like, yeah, you're so good at like bringing up these conversations. And it's like, don't tell me that because then I'll think about it.
Now I have to be that guy for the rest of my life. I know that's happened to me too. Like my friends always saw me as like the guy who knew movie quotes. So I'd like come in and be like, who wants to hear some movie quotes? Movie quote guys here. It's like, I'm not actually that good at it. It's like in The Office with Andy. Have you seen the episode when Will Ferrell's the boss?
Yeah.
And Andy like says some joke right when they meet, and he's like, funny guy. And then the rest of the episodes end, he's like trying to think of ways to be funny. And he like gets scalding hot coffee, like pours it on his crotch. He's like, I don't know what to do. It's like that. Like if someone compliments you and like you let that become like your ticket into that friendship, then
it's
it
like
kind of messes you up.
with very specific movies, I can talk for a long time.
Uh-huh.
And then people are like, oh, yeah, like, you know so much about movies? What do you think about this movie? Never seen it.
Like, crap, no. They see me as the movie guy. I can't ruin
I have to
this.
research every movie
Just
ever.
in case. Like, I remember we went with Maddie's great uncle and grandma to a baseball game. And I was doing this like crazy diet thing with some friends, just like as a challenge. And so I hadn't eaten anything since like 9 a.m. This was like 7 o'clock at night. So I was super hungry. And this is one of the first times we'd ever hung out. And so we go to this baseball game. They have a free buffet thing. So I eat literally 4 hamburgers and 4 hot dogs in like a 5-minute span. Because I just had not eaten all day and I've been trying to do this diet. So it's like, down them. And now, that was like years ago. Now, every time I see Maddie's grandma, she's like, oh my gosh, here's the big eater. Here's the guy. Like, keep this guy away from the table. He's going to eat everything. And I like feel the need to like, crap, I can't let her down. She sees me as that. And it's not even true.
Yeah.
Even though I've told her, she's still like, oh, you're being modest.
I think that's always really funny. I hate social obligation.
Yeah.
Because when I don't feel that, I'm just like so happy.
Mm-hmm.
I've actively tried to be more genuine over this past. It's been one of my goals recently. And I've worked a lot on it. And when I don't smile as much, I end up being happier. Because then you put worth into everything you do.
Every smile you have is more valuable.
Yeah. And I had a long conversation once about social interaction and stuff. And we got on this tangent of like, the point of life is not to be showy or not to be happy, but to be intentional, to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And if you're intentional, that leads to happiness. Instead of, if you're happy, you'll find out your intentions.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with that.
And it's really been helpful to me, knowing that like, oh, I will just decide why I'm doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And it will make the why I'm doing it, if I have that, it'll make the whole experience better.
Yeah. Well, I think that something that comes from, I guess, confidence in yourself and like self-worth is the ability to decide the way that you want to be and then have the world fill in around you rather than find who the world wants you to be and you fill in yourself to match it. So like, for example, every type of person that is inside of you, and there's a lot, there's like you with your grandma, there's you with your friends, there's you with a party, there's you nervous at a party, there's you, the man at a party.
Yeah.
And there's you like pretending to be extroverted and there's you actually being extroverted. Every version of yourself is applicable in different scenarios. But I think if too often, kind of like we were just saying, you choose to try and create a version of yourself that is not what you are actually wanting to be, then you lose the ability to know yourself. Like you start to lose social instincts. I've noticed that with myself. Like if I go into a situation and I feel like I have to be like Mr. Outgoing, Mr. Talkative, like Mr. Cool, whatever, and I'm trying to impress people, and so I act in a certain way, but my instincts aren't telling me to act that way. My instincts are telling me like, maybe you don't know these people, or maybe you're nervous, or maybe you should listen and like be the guy who's just observing and chimes in. When I betray my social instincts towards like because I want attention or I want
Yeah.
someone to like me or whatever the reason is. Anytime I betray my social instincts, I lose them a little bit.
Huh.
And then the next time I can't remember as easily which one was the right choice. Then
Yeah.
I just have to mimic it again. That's why when I see people that are always one way, like you see someone, there's probably a guy like this in your school that's like always Mr. Cheery.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
everyone loves John. He's just like always smiling. He's always in a good mood. Usually what I think about that person, not always, but almost always, there's like a deep sadness or a deep feeling that they don't have self-worth. And so
Huh.
they have to put that on because they're afraid of what their natural social instincts will tell them to do. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
so sad. I don't want to just, like, no one loves me. So if I really just am who I am in this situation, then I won't get love. So I have to fake a
That's
different
true.
type to feel love.
I th- I think the people I like the most are not the people who are always positive, the people who are down to earth positive.
Yeah.
I think too often I know a lot of people that in the name of being true to themselves are just mean,
Yeah.
right? And I think you can be true to yourself and be tactful.
Absolutely.
Um,
Or be quiet.
yeah. Actually, I've also found that going into like high energy situations,
Mm-hmm.
I end up talking more and I end up being more confident if I go in like completely neutral.
Yeah.
Like, oh, anything will affect me the way it affects me.
Mm-hmm.
So I come into a party or a big situation kind of reserved,
Mm-hmm.
but then the party itself makes me excited because those things excite me.
Yeah.
That will eventually, it always happens like this. I start, no one's really talking to me. I talk to like a few select people,
Mm-hmm.
and then I genuinely get the energy, and all the focus turns into me, like everyone wants.
Right.
But if I do it genuinely, then I I feel like I have cause to be heard,
Mm-hmm.
and that I have things to say because I'm only saying stuff that I want to say.
Right. Well, I think that again, like your ability to just naturally and organically react to people and then take in their energy and express your energy and have a conversation um, by just following what feels normal will lead you to that type of thing, being the center of attention or feeling like you're being yourself or, feeling charismatic much more than trying to be charismatic. Like
Yeah.
when you come in, I think your brain knows. I have a theory that like you're born socially almost perfect. Maybe not born, but like your natural state for almost everyone is like socially almost perfect. Like you're not awkward, you're not weird, you know what to say at the right time. But I feel like outside influences and your own brain are usually what cause social problems. So if you were just to act exactly the way that your instincts were telling you, and this is not always the case, but like you were saying, at the party, you just go in neutral. You're just like, how am I going to react to this person? I'm in this conversation. How do I react? Okay, I'm in this conversation. How do I react? Rather than trying to have people think of you in a certain way.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I learned in a seminar that if you want to be the man, you come in and you make a big statement right when you walk in. Like, hello everyone, what's up? How's the party? And if that's not really what your social instincts are telling you, then that's not going to pay off in the way you think.
Yeah.
You know? That's the problem with learning about like how to be charismatic or, how to make friends. Not that it's not valuable, but if you become too like by the book on things, they kind of end up backfiring.
Yeah. It's like
You know?
I think socially it's like nerdy clothing generally always it once was cool clothing
Mhm.
that they kind of caught it too late,
Yeah.
or like it's a little too small. They didn't quite get why it was cool.
Uh-huh.
And so that's the same thing I think with nerdy or socially awkward people. It's like, oh, I'm supposed to talk about what I'm passionate about.
Right.
Well, I'm passionate about Minecraft. So I'm
Yeah.
going to aggressively go to you with Minecraft instead of just listening and reacting.
Yeah, and what's weird is that someone who gets it could talk about Minecraft and make it work.
Yeah.
But someone who doesn't is like, oh, just talk about what you're passionate about. Like, hey, so I love Minecraft. And like, oh, you just started the conversation with that. Like, that's what did you read in the situation that would tell you that that's what I wanted to talk about?
Yeah.
But someone who gets it would come up and be like, hey, how's it going? You like to party? Like, yeah. Like, what have you been up to? I don't know. I've been playing Minecraft. It's awesome. And then all of a sudden, they're also talking about it.
Yeah.
But they've calibrated their passion to the situation.
It's like in Mission Impossible 3, Tom Cruise's like secret, his, I don't know, alibi
Mm-hmm.
is that he works in like traffic engineering and how to like limit traffic.
I didn't know that.
And it's like he starts talking and then his wife is like, yeah, everything he says is really boring, but he's just so good at saying it. And then he has this like long conversation about like, there's this flow of traffic. But like it's Tom Cruise, so it's like the most interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I think about it a lot, where it's like you can literally be passionate about anything. There's nothing you should really be ashamed of.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's just how you go about presenting it.
In fact, being ashamed of your passion, I think, is a huge turnoff because it's a signal that you are ashamed of yourself, kind of.
Yeah.
Like when people are like, "Oh yeah, I like theater, but like it's so dumb." Like downplaying their own interests is,
Yeah.
I think, really unattractive because then you come across as like if you don't even think your passions are interesting, you don't even think you are interesting, why would I think you're interesting?
Yeah. I think if you can just be perfectly honest with what you think, then what you say is more interesting. Because, for example, in Hamlet, I really enjoyed being in that show.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot of the like weird stuff about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the music doesn't really match. But because it's not like I'm not ashamed of that, because I know the part of it that I really love, I can talk about both and be comfortable. I think majority of social interaction, good social interaction, is just comfort, being
Mm-hmm.
comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
And I think that a lot more people would realize that they like socializing if they felt comfortable with themselves. Like you said, it's comfort, and everyone wants connection. Everyone wants to be seen and to be understood by someone else, and to
Yeah.
see and understand other people. But there's a pressure that comes in wanting to be liked or being liked or loved and losing it. There's a pressure that comes with like building relationships, and the fear of losing them sometimes is hard for people. But I think that if people could, and I wish I had the secret to this, I don't. If people could just be completely honest about who they are and put it out there and risk people not liking them, like these are my interests, these are my fears, this is exactly who I am, then socializing would become so much easier and so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
People are afraid to be exposed, I think, sometimes.
I think, and I've heard this a lot, but it only really meant something to me recently about like abundance mindset
Mm-hmm.
with the like, there are a lot of people and I've connected with a lot of people. And if I can understand that in the moment, and be like, in this moment, I'm connecting to you because hopefully you're cool and hopefully you like me.
Right.
But if you don't and you're not cool, I really haven't lost anything.
Right.
Then there's no fear.
And then more likely you'll connect with them.
Yeah.
Because the fear is what drives people away. Because fear makes people needy. And fear makes people text their friends every single day to ask them what they're doing. Because they don't want to be left out. And fear, makes people have affairs because they feel like their wife might have an affair with them. So they have to beat them to it. Like, I think I completely agree. I think if people could just have the confidence to be seen for exactly what they really are, then love would come much easier to them. And that's what's so hard. You say that as if it's an easy thing. Like, oh, what are you talking about? Just be yourself. Just own exactly who you are. But that's like the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
just being okay with yourself is like a lifelong pursuit. And it's also like a muscle that needs you need constant work, in my opinion.
Yeah. I related it to naming one time about how it's a good thing that you don't name yourself
Mm-hmm.
because then you'd always be wishy-washy about it. You'd always be like, well, there's a better name. There's something that represents me a little better. This doesn't feel good. But if someone names you, right, then all you have to do is come to grips with it.
Yeah.
I think that's with yourself too. If you're always trying to change what you are, you'll never be okay with it.
Uh-huh.
But if you understand that while the facets of you and your skills will change, the essence of you doesn't.
Right.
The reasons why you make this thing, why you want what you want, roughly stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know that and not try to seek for the grasping at the air of the rest of your personality,
Mm-hmm.
then all you have to do is come to grips with this.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be more happy.
I heard an interesting analogy the other day that I really liked. It was kind of silly, but it kind of sunk in over time. Right when I heard it, I was like, that is dumb. But so what it is there's a woman, she has lost her keys, right? Her husband comes home and she's looking for her keys underneath the dining room table. He says, what are you doing? She says, I'm looking for my keys. And he said, oh, did you lose them under the table? And she said, no, actually, I lost them in the basement, but it's dark down there, so I don't want to look there. So I'm looking here because this is where I can look. And I think, to your point, people, they know who they are. They know deep down what their core essence is. And a lot of the time, if they were able to accept that and to look at that, they could change so many other things about their life if they start there. It's like, this is what I want, and this is why, instead of looking somewhere else and trying to change their core essence. That's why people do things that are totally irrational sometimes. They're like, they're not okay with who they are. So they go out and they try to reinvent themselves in a way to escape their essence. But if they could just look inside and be like, okay, this is who I am. Now from here, I can move on and make real decisions.